So I'm open-minded.
Same.
On, finding new evidence of things, whether it be in history or things in recent history and stuff that's happened that ends up having some sort of proven explanation that says this is not human, whatever that may mean. It also, the definition of alien gets interesting because I always cite this example, and it's just my own. It's not defined, but when you watch the movie Interstellar, Matthew McConaughey leaves Earth one day. He comes back aged like a year or two, and he comes back to an Earth that has moved, whatever it was, 85, 90 years.
Right.
To me, he is someone from a different time coming back to a place that is different than he left it by literal longevity of him leaving it. Therefore, he is an alien, right? So it's like, you also got to get to like, well, what is an alien? Or is there such thing as future humans? Have people figured out how to do time travel and all that? I don't know. But what I do know is a couple things. Mathematically, when you look at the probabilities of the universe, and a really nice conversation with David Kipping about this, who's fucking awesome, and he'll be back for sure. I did 358 with him. He was great. But, when you think about just how vast the galaxy is and how much of it we still don't know about, the idea that there isn't mathematically probable that there is other intelligent life out there, to me,
100%.
is almost at a zero.
Same.
Right? Like, does that mean it's all over the place?
And does that mean they're visiting Earth?
Exactly. It doesn't mean that it's all over the place, because the number of things that have to go right for a habitable world to produce intelligent life is, it's extensive, right? We're a rarity. We're not common. But when you don't even know how big the galaxy is, it could be anywhere. And to your point, exactly, like, you don't know if they have come here. What I will say is that I'm sure people could notice I have covered that stuff a lot less over the past year plus. I had in my friend Chris Ramsey, who's like a historian of all the different stories that come together. That was a lot of fun.
Totally.
But outside of that, I have not talked about aliens with people that aren't fucking physicists, where it's a scientific explanation, because so much of the noise that has been injected into this space, whether it be people that I've had on who worked in the fucking government, which that risk when you take it, when you bring that on, or the people that they bring forth as witnesses, is just so off. And, I did one with a good friend of mine, James Fox, who brought Jason Sands in here, and the story, Jason has to his credit, has, as a former military member and all that, like, he has some severe PTSD. His story is wrong. It's not real. Like, I hate to break it to people, and it was extremely obvious to me when he was here that it's not real. And I believe that he believes it, but that's not what happened. And it's very clear. And so when I see the people that push that guy hard onto James Fox, and I know who they are, and then I think about all the other stories and people that they've pushed, and guys like Chris Bledsoe, who I do not believe is telling the truth at all, right? Oh my God, the Iron Lady is going to come down or whatever. By the way, it's April now. It's going to be October conveniently. And his son's creating a podcast on it. I see stuff like this and I go, woo, too much bullshit. So when I have these conversations, I try to look at it with whatever fucking facts we can find, or whatever scientific mathematical probabilities could exist. And I try to keep it to, like, some sort of an educated conversation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And for the record, I'm not in the UFO niche at all.
Right. Let's make that clear.
It's interesting to me. And apparently, a lot of these whistleblowers are saying, a lot of them are ours, but there is a certain percentage that aren't, like, that are from somewhere. But I'm also, there's probably political reasons to get everybody worried and scared about aliens. And so I worry about that too. And that's one of the reasons I ended up feeling compelled to do what I did with the Nazca mummies once I came to I don't know if you want to get into that now.
Let's do it. We've been teasing it. We were teasing it in the last episode. We just had a great conversation on all this other stuff, which it's just all fascinating. Your channel is great, man. But the Nazca mummy thing, I do want to disclose my own personal history with this.
Yeah, please.
I was approached about 2 years ago, almost exactly 2 years ago, by, I forget the fucking guy's name, but someone representing Jaime.
Yep.
What's his last?
Mauson.
Yeah, Jaime Mauson. One of, if not the most common DMs I get on Instagram are many of you asking me what my favorite books are. Well, today's your lucky day, because if you use the link in my description below to join my newsletter, I'm going to give you my top 10 book recommendations right now. Also, if you'd like to join my clipping community for a chance to make money producing content from the show, you can do so via the Discord link in my description below. And finally, you can join my Patreon for early uncensored releases of the full episodes via the Patreon link in my description below. As always, please take 1 second to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I really appreciate that. Also, the like button's a big help, and you can join my newsletter via the link in the description below. Who's like the dude who's been pushing this.
Yep.
And
one of them, but yeah.
Yeah. And I don't have a problem saying this, but I got on a Zoom call with Jaime Mauson, and my bullshit meter was beeping at a fucking 45 on a scale of 1 to 10. I respectfully, I can't remember talking to someone that within 10 seconds I was more sure was completely full of shit in a long, long time. And so listen, this is what I mean. You got to have integrity with this stuff. I could have done he wanted to come. He's like, so when are we doing this? He wanted to come on the podcast. I could have done fucking 1.5 million views on that podcast, recut it up on all the clips, made fucking all kinds of money on it. And I was like, absolutely not. We're never fucking doing this. I never talked to him again. And it made me think that because he's pushing it, the whole story's bullshit. So I have to admit, I had immediate bias on that. Like, this is complete bullshit.
Yeah.
Fast forward, my friend Jesse Michaels, who you now know as well,
yep.
who also reached out to you, which is great, to discuss this.
Yep.
Does a whole documentary on it. And I'm like, oh boy. I get on the phone with Jesse. I talk to him about it. I'm like, what do you think? And to his credit, he was not like, it definitely happened. He was like, I kind of want the audience to decide. But his
video is nuanced.
He did talk to Jaime in there, and I told him very strongly in New Jersey terms on the phone what I thought of fucking Jaime. But there were other people he talked to as well who I couldn't speak on because I wasn't familiar with them. And frankly, when it came to the rest of the case, outside of me like having a very clear lie detector test on Jaime, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm educated or whatever.
Yeah.
But you have literally gone to the press conferences on this. You've talked to all the people, including a lot of people that I'm unfamiliar with or maybe don't even remember that maybe were in Jesse's documentary. And in your opinion, you believe that this whole thing is not real. So
a hoax.
Right, a hoax. So I want you to go into as much detail as possible. I want you to break it down. Let's start at the beginning. For people that don't know what the Nazca mummies are, can you just give an explanation of what they are and when they originated as a discussion?
Yes. In 2017, there was a mummy that was presented to the public named Maria. That is what they call a tridactyl being, meaning it has 3 fingers and 3 toes.
Can we pull that up, Steve, Maria?
Yeah, Maria. And so Gaia is a big, Gaia, the media company, is the big one that released some of the early documentaries on this. But the story is that this was found by a huaquero, which is a grave robber out there. And to be fair, that is who would find an amazing discovery, right? Like they have this is not Maria, but that's one of the newer ones. But if you put in Maria specifically with the Nazca mummies, and so there's an institution called the Ankari Institute that was early in on this. Yep, that one with the red background there. That's Maria. And you can see the 3 fingers there. And immediately they start pushing this as a new species and some type of alien being. They do, they bring out these specialists from Russia who you can never kind of figure out what their actual academic background is. But also immediately professionals down in Peru, throughout all the noise, are saying, hey, these are fake. There's a lot of things that are screwed up here with the anatomy. And we're going to talk about the anatomy here in just a moment.
Just for context, who were these professionals?
So a guy named Dr. Gismondi is one of them. Flavio Estrada, who was the head of the Ministry of Culture, and then several other people that I'm losing their name. But Flavio Estrada is like a forensic archaeologist, anthropologist, and then Gismondi is an anthropologist as well. And so they're debunks got drowned out immediately. And if you go to my YouTube channel right now, you'll see my debunks are like my least performing videos of the last year. It's not exactly very popular to say that the alien mummies aren't alien mummies. I think probably because some people just think that it's obvious, and then the others that want to believe, you know. Anyways, fast forward to 2023. So these things got debunked a bunch of times over the year, but then in 2023, September, if you remember right, the Mexican Congress debacle happens where Jaime Maussan shows the Mexican Congress these little mummies, these little 3-fingered mummies that are probably about 3 feet tall. And it goes viral. It goes absolutely wild. They're talking about it on Colbert Report. They're talking, Neil deGrasse Tyson weighs in. And immediately they're all dismissed by most people, but these proponents are really hitting it hard. Well, then in December of 2023/January 2024, they find some of these dolls trying to be smuggled through the Lima airport, and they go and do scans, and they go, okay, these are animal bones. Case dismissed. These are closed. And this is where I got.
Who was trying to smuggle them?
There was a person that was from Palpa, the area where a lot of these are coming from, that claimed that he was just making art souvenirs to sell in Mexico. And so it all gets dismissed as a hoax. And this is where I actually got interested, because to me, that wasn't good enough. I knew about Maria, and I knew Maria was not animal bones. Whenever the debunkers were doing this at the beginning, not all of them, but the ones that were in the media, they were saying that these were all a mix of animal bones. But Maria was different. Maria is clearly some type of human, right? That has 3 fingers and 3 toes. Spoiler alert, Maria is just a normal Homo sapien that's been butchered in Frankenstein, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So I go down there with an iPhone and a drone, and I start getting in contact with a lot of the proponents, and I am making, and I'm interviewing them, and I make this documentary called Show Me the Mummies. Because as much as I tried, they would not show me the mummies. At the time, it was kind of sensitive to go find them. And in that documentary, I'm kind of playing that I'm sitting on the fence. I'm telling you the timeline of the stories. I'm telling you the proponent side of the story. And I'm telling you a little bit of the naysayer side of the story as well. And then about a year later, I get an opportunity to go actually see Maria for myself. This is in April of 2025. Sorry, let me back up. I was also at the infamous press conference and was like really one of the only English reporters there.
The one in Mexico?
The one in Lima that got raided by the Ministry of Culture during
What happened there? When was that?
It's actually on my YouTube, but they were announcing that there were larger mummies that were about to be presented to the public. And during that announcement, and this is also when they announced that there were going to be American scientists that were looking into all of this. And during that announcement, the Ministry of Culture came in, took over the press conference, thinking that there were bodies there that they were going to confiscate. Yeah, this is it right here. If you kind of fast forward, you'll see the drama. Back up a little bit, back up like to like 1/3 the way through.
That's Jaime talking.
Yeah, Jaime and all that.
Keep talking. I'm trying to find something.
And so,
as well.
and so this place it made national news. The raid. Go back to like the beginning. You'll see some of it. Maybe like 3 minutes in, and so fast forward a year later, I get a chance to actually go see Maria for myself. And around this time, I'm also viewing the skeptic side of the argument a lot more serious. And when I see Maria for the first time in person, and if you go to you don't have to go now, but when you get a chance, if you go to my PDF, here's the raid, by the way. It was just absolute chaos in there. I have an image in my PDF, one of the first photos, that shows Maria in 2017 versus Maria now. And my alarm bells just start screaming right here. You can see this diatomaceous earth that she's covered in or plastered in my opinion, is starting to completely erode away. And if you zoom in, Joey, on that chin of the 2025 image, like zoom in really close to the chin, go to the right. Yep. There appears to be like fiberglass tape right there. Something is, Maria is starting to reveal herself. So I start getting really skeptical, and there's a guy named Dr. Dan, and I was already skeptical, but there's a guy named Dr. Dan Proctor, a bioanthropologist that specializes in the hands and the feet. And he had been for like 2 years trying to get a hold of a lot of people that were studying this. And he believes that there is clear evidence that Maria, and if you go to slide 3 here, has had her hands and feet amputated. And one of the things that convinced me, and I am not an expert in anatomy, but you can see it for yourself right here. You'll see where it says trapezium distal articular surface. Mm-hmm. That appears to be what that is. That's where the thumb bone or the metacarpal one of the thumb bone should be attached to. And if something evolved with 3 fingers, there should be no reason that that trapezium distal articular surface, which looks exactly like ours, there should be no reason that that's there. And then for good measure, if you go to the next slide in 4, that metacarpal one that's missing from there appears to be, and this by metacarpal one, I mean the thumb bone, they appear to have put it in the second phalange. Go to 4 right there. They appear to have put it in the second phalange right there. And so they're Frankensteining these things. And so in December, I guess in August or July, I'd seen a picture of these giant heads that were clearly fake. And I could send you some pictures of those later. And this was with the whistleblower Vaquero, the guy that supposedly found Maria. He's posing with these fake giant heads. And I just knew that image, once it went public, because I was told I couldn't release it because somebody had the exclusive rights to it. I basically told them, I was like, tell them they got 4 months because like people need to know about this. And once it came out, all hell broke loose. People started calling these a hoax again. And that's when myself, Dr. Proctor, Dr. Joseph Wilson, an archaeologist at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst, and then a radiographer that I met on Twitter named Shelley got really involved when we made that video. And then fast forward real quick, I've recently interviewed Dr. William Morrison, who's the former president of the Society of Skeletal Radiology, probably about one of the best people you could talk to about this. And he got we gave him the raw DICOM scans of 4 of the big mummies. You know, a lot of people say, well, of course the small ones are fake, but the big ones are, we didn't even touch the small ones for that reason. We just were focusing on the big ones. And he tore these things apart.
How so?
For example, there's one mummy named Paloma that has human hand bones in her feet.
Human hand bones
in her feet. Maria, the original mummy, has a clear cut at her Liz Frank joint.
Yeah.
And the fascia and the tendons didn't retract back, meaning it was probably cut after mummification. One of my favorite ones is Antonio. Yeah, there's Paloma. Antonio is a mummy that has teenage bones all over their body, except for their feet. Their feet appear to be like an elderly man's with arthritis and closed growth plates. There's so many other examples. I think in slide, Joey, if you go to one of my next slides, to me, this is my favorite one. Go to the next one. So the 2 most famous mummies are Maria and Montserrat. And Montserrat is the one that supposedly has the tridactyl 3-fingered fetus inside of her. We'll talk about that one in a moment. But Maria here has 4 phalanges and Montserrat has 3. And so once this came out, their pivot was, well, they must be a different species. And so the thing is, this whole scam has been going on for a long time. The playbook for this hoax has been going on for a long time. A lot of the doctors that was brought out by Jaime Maussan and team, Dr. Zalce Benitez, were involved in the 2015 Roswell Slides hoax, if you want to pull that up.
Yeah, what was that?
So I might even have slides for it. But
by the way, you can, this is all like coming back to me too. Like when I was contacted and all that, I try to be like very upfront with people and stuff, but sometimes when there's like something very scammy and you get on a phone call with someone or a video chat and you're like, all right, sounds good. Yeah, we'll do one. You get off and you're like, okay. how am I going to get out of this? Something that you can do sometimes is, first of all, I make people come here, so that helps. And you can always tell by how they react and how they want to schedule.
Yeah.
How much of this is just a press blitz. And I remember before I ghosted them, like they were like, oh, we want you to, he called me. He's like, I want you to come out to Los Angeles and record there.
Right.
Like when we're doing this big press conference.
I remember that press conference.
They wanted to roll it out. And I was like, no. I record in New York in my studio. That's it. Oh, okay. And then they hit me up and they're like, all right, what dates work? I was like, maybe like 2 months down the line or something like that.
Yeah.
Like after the press conference. And then they're like, okay, yeah, we'll fly out there after that.
Yeah.
And I didn't say anything about like getting their travel or anything like that. And then it died on the vine because I wasn't doing their fucking press conference rollout. It wasn't going to be timed that way. They weren't just going to like pick off a quick, view session to be able to say, look, Julian Dorey picked it up. And then this fucking guy picked it up and that guy picked it up. Like you can tell behind the scenes, like with some of this stuff, the salacious stuff, there's just some certain tells where it's like,
very
okay, this is
calculated.
just marketing.
Yeah, dog and pony show marketing.
Yeah. But please go through the 2015 hoax.
Speaking of press conferences, they love their press conferences. Scroll down a little bit. I'll show you something funny here. So keep on going. And so here's the Roswell Slides hoax. You can go back to this real quick. Roswell Slides hoax is a 2015 Jaime Maussan and team. Said that this photo right here was an image of an alien from the Roswell Slides crash. And Dr. Zalce Benitez, which is in the next frame right here, actually, the first time we've ever heard about three-fingered aliens is in 2015, before anyone ever knew about the Nazca mummies. In this press conference right there, he says, this being only has 3 fingers. We can be certain that this being only has 3 fingers. Well, they didn't think to do a Freedom of Information Act request with the National Park Service to try to figure out where this picture came from. If you go to the next image, I hope this is okay to show. This is a dead Native American child.
Let's make a note of that, Deef.
Yeah.
Like, people will just have to look this up themselves because we can't have this on the screen. We'll just make this full screen with you and I looking at it in the post edit. But
that's good.
Okay,
that's smart.
It does look like a dead human. I'm not gonna lie.
That was taken at the Mesa Verde Museum in Colorado, and this was found in Arizona at a place called Montezuma's Castle. And if you zoom in real quick, I want to make a point. Zoom in on that left hand, and I know the people won't be able to see this, but just so everyone knows, you see a thumb there, right, Julian? You see back there? There's clearly a thumb right there.
Where Deef's?
Yep.
Okay.
That's a thumb.
Oh, yeah, I see it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, let's go to the next slides here. And for those that are listening, I'm kind of going to try to make a point right here. So,
yeah, now you can show it.
Speaking of press conferences, they really like their press conferences. On the left here is the Roswell Slides hoax press conference 2015. On the right is the Nazca Mummies hoax press conference 2017. Exact same characters. By the way, Dr. Jose de la Cruz is not a doctor. He does not have a PhD in biology. That is a lie.
How does he get away with that?
They just throw shit at the wall. Is
he a doctor in gender studies or something?
No, he's like a local biologist, but he is not a doctor. He's not a PhD. And they brought him out for the Roswell Slides hoax, and they brought out Zalce Benitez, who's like the #1 doctor that everyone cites for the Nazca Mummies hoax. And then you can see these same guys in the early days of the Nazca Mummies. So if you go to slide 14 right here, this just makes me laugh. This is still Dr. and it's not a doctor, but this is De La Cruz. Yeah, that's true. We probably can't show this. Yeah. My point is he's still promoting these mummies. And if you zoom in on his banner, he hides the thumbs. They're still saying they're 3-fingered.
Oh, he changes it so people, because you can't see what we're looking at.
He tweeted this at me a week ago. He's still promoting the Roswell Slides.
Let me explain this just because people can't see this, if you don't mind. So on the right side, we have the picture that we can't show, which is why this is not on your screen right now. But Deef, if you go over to the left real quick, he basically recreated this in like a textbook kind of real life size breakdown with a bunch of labels and stuff, and removed the thumb right there.
Remove the thumb. And my point of telling you all this is whatever, like, I don't even in my first video, I didn't even really call this out because I was hoping I didn't have to, but people asked for why you think this is a hoax. people are really curious. Well, why are your experts more credible than their experts? Well, my experts haven't been pushing the Roswell hoax for the last decade. They haven't been. If you look up the Metapet creature or the demon fairy, a lot of these same guys were
the demon fairy.
A lot of the same DNA guys that they brought out for the Nazca mummies were used to try to confirm the demon fairy that Jaime Maussan was.
All right, real quick. I just have to go to the bathroom, but let's talk about the demon fairies.
Cool.
And
Sounds good.
Be right back. All right, we're back. Demon fairies.
Demon fairies. So one of the guys they brought out for the Nazca mummies to do some of the early DNA tests was also involved in doing the DNA test of this demon fairy that you see here on the screen, which ended up being a bat that they, which, and if you want to kind of play it, you'll see how ridiculous this is. This thing is just full of bat bones. It was a desiccated bat. They proved it once outside specialists actually got involved. But they did bring out this guy right here to basically say, no, it's not a hoax. The DNA is showing.
And who's this guy?
His name is Ricardo
on the side of the road?
Ricardo Rangel. And he is supposedly a geneticist expert. And then he did the same thing with the Metapet creature, which ended up being a monkey. That they also promoted as an alien. And so, listen, this is the Metapet creature right here. My whole point of this isn't even to flame on this, like whatever. I like funny stories. Like I like entertaining television. Mm-hmm. But now we're talking about people desecrating ancient bodies, human bodies.
That's crazy.
And people say they haven't been making any money on this. No, there's been people making money. There's big organizations that sell subscriptions to these documentaries that are making money off this.
And that's the other thing, like you mentioned Gaia as well. So my friend Darcy Weir has done some, I think he just made another documentary.
I've met Darcy.
Yeah, so Darcy did some amazing work on this and charting, like went through all the depositions from when they got sued and everything and admitted that the creators admitted that it's all bullshit. And that's why, like, Darcy was, to his credit, was on to the Jason Sands story from day one when Jason Sands came out, because he realized it was like the scene in Step Brothers where the psychiatrist is like, isn't this just the plot to Good Will Hunting? He's like, no, it's the same thing. The things Jason and the terminology Jason was using in telling his story were quite literally lifted from this shit that Gaia was pushing that they admitted under oath they completely made up.
Yep. And Darcy, shout out to him. I was unaware of who Darcy was until this happened. And Darcy debunked these in like 2018, the Nazca mummies. Yep. He did a documentary with Brian Forrester, if it's the same Darcy I'm thinking about. I'm pretty sure it is.
I believe it is.
And and so he reached out right away and was super helpful, just helping me wrap my mind around all this, because he's been on it since 2018.
Forget all the people who bamboozle people and make money on this and defraud people and do it. It's fraud if something like this is actually what the evidence seems to show it is, which is that it does appear fraudulent. But it's also the kind of stuff that sets back the credibility of people trying to actually find truth on these things decades.
Totally.
Like there was such a unique opportunity here with Christopher Mellon coming out in 2017, walking out of the Pentagon and going to the New York Times to put this into the actual zeitgeist of like
UFOs.
Right.
Yeah.
Like this can be a seriously taken subject. Such a unique opportunity. And watching so many scammers and idiots blow it has been really difficult, because I would like, when I talk to David Kipping about this shit, when I talk to Claudia Durham about this shit, when I talk to Lee Cronin about this shit, I'm so interested, because there's immense possibilities.
Yeah.
And it's certainly meaning of life type stuff. But like the people who have dominated the conversation, unfortunately, are not those people.
Yep, for sure. And let me tell you, part of it's a media complex. It's not, if you're trying to, people are saying that I'm grifting by hitting this topic so hard. I've lost money this last month. It is not a very
not
profitable. It's not
That's right.
popular to do this.
That's
Debunking a new species of human or an alien is not actually very popular. In fact, it kind of gets pushed to the wayside.
I wonder why.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people have kind of dug their heels in or even poured cold water on some of this because I think that they had their skin in the game already. They had, a sunk cost with already maybe plans to make a documentary in the future. And actually, shout out to Jesse Michaels. He called me day one wanting to know what I knew.
I love that.
He called me day one. Yeah. And really on the proponent side of things, Jesse was really the only one that like reached out genuinely wanting to know what this bioanthropologist who has papers that specialize on the evolution of the hands and the feet and what this radiologist, who's one of the best radiologists in the world, had to say about this. He gave them all a platform. I don't want to speak too, I don't know when that's coming out, but yeah. So,
and I do want to say, cause Jesse's a friend. Jesse really does give a shit.
Yeah, he does.
And there's stuff like, first of all, brilliant guy. Brilliant guy,
Wicked smart,
just
super
great.
smart.
Yeah, great to talk with. Awesome dude. I had him in back for episode 240 back in 2024, but we'll do another one at some point here as well. Like, he really is a fan of this stuff and he really does believe in this stuff. And like, there are some stories he covers that like, he's like, well, maybe there's a chance that I'm like, I don't think so. And that's fine. But he is genuinely curious to the point that he doesn't just come in and when someone like yourself may go make a case that's against something that he's like, oh, this would be really cool if it's true, and be like, well, I'm not going to talk to that guy. And you need more people like Jesse who come at it from like a genuine basis like that to be in the space.
I mean, you're putting it's a pretty wild topic to be covering. And so occasionally stuff like this is going to happen. And
for sure,
his YouTube channel is it's so good and it's got so much great momentum that if these, in my opinion, when these end up being accepted by the public that they're a hoax, it's not going to hurt Jesse. And so yeah, shout out to him. He did
that documentary, by the way. I want to say this, like
there's nuance to it.
There was nuance to it. He allowed the audience to decide open-ended on the end. I had a great conversation with him a few days later as well. Like, that was absolutely fine. You can't be afraid to do something that's later going to be like, that was wrong. That's the whole point of investigating this stuff. So people should not give that shit. For sure.
Oh my gosh. Like the amount of shit that I've like gotten wrong or half wrong or should have presented it another way. People are giving him shit right now because obviously his video, it got like 1 million views. It really started the conversation for these going kind of mainstream again. But actually his video is what helped me tie a few more pieces together when it came to some of these characters that we just talked about. Dr. Zalce Benitez saying that the tridactyl fetus had 3 fingers. That's the one that everyone really hangs up on. It turns out that image that he was using, and I actually have this on my PDF. If you find like the image of the scans of the 3 fingers, go up just a little, right there. It's a cherry-picked image from what Dr. William Morrison said is an image basically that you can't make a diagnostic on. It's too blurry.
What was it? Okay.
Dr. William Morrison, the radiology guy I was talking about. And he even thinks that if you look close enough at the cherry-picked image, like the one that's just like in the top left, that you could actually probably count 5 fingers, but this is what they cherry-picked out of that. They call that windowing. I have a video.
Windowing?
Yeah. I don't really know what it means, but I have a Dr. William Morrison's on my latest YouTube video titled This Is a Hoax. The title of the video, This Is a Hoax, the Nazca Alien Mummy Scam. And Dr. William Morrison tears this part of.
Can we pull that up and play that?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do that.
So once again, Dr. William Morrison here.
By the way, I'll bet your video, sorry to cut you off, but I'll bet your video, if you had just titled it, Investigating the Nazca Mummy.
Right.
Whatever.
Are these real?
Right. Yeah. They would have done very well.
Probably. Yeah. Probably. But, this is an end of the chapter for me. So I wasn't I mean, it'd be nice to get some views on this thing, but yeah. So if you go to the description, I did put timestamps. I don't know why they didn't break them into chapters, but you can see one of those is going to talk about Dr. William Morrison doing the three-fingered. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Let's get some volume on this bad boy.
So this is the former president of the Society of Skeletal Radiology.
Okay. Where?
He's an academic radiologist now, but he's practiced all, in all kinds of.
Okay. All right, let's roll it.
Typically, they removed the trapezium, which is a carpal bone that attaches to the thumb, and the trapezium attaches to the scapula.
Pause that. Good. Just go. Did we click on the right one? That's the.
Dr. William Morrison confirms Maria's thumb has been removed.
Do the. You were going to want to do. Okay, 0627, the tridactyl three-fingered fetus.
Fine, let's
Okay, here we go.
fast forward to 2024 and 2025, shortly after it was announced that the mummy Montserrat was pregnant. It was Dr. Zalce Benitez that popularized the idea that this fetus had 3 fingers.
At the bottom, there are limbs positioned at the level of the skull. In front of this, we find it extended in a position directed towards the head.
If that
they would be able to spot it.
If that
a conventional
doctor
doctor
has the curiosity to be very careful, he will say this baby has 3 fingers in the hands and in their feet.
To start, I mean, this is in radiology what we call a non-diagnostic image. It's too low resolution to really make any cogent descriptions of what's going on here. It's a bag of bones. It's low resolution. Everything is mixed up. So what they did was it looks like there's extra digits there, but they windowed it such that it looks like they removed the ones that were lower density, lower brightness. That's just my impression that it's wishful thinking on their part. They wanted to see 3, so they saw 3. But to me, it's kind of funny when you see what looks like 5 things there and they remove 2 of them.
These 2 aren't the only experts involved with the
So throughout that entire video, I just kind of will cut the clips of Dr. William Morrison just tearing these things apart. Mm-hmm. This is where the amputation happened on the Liz Frank joint. They have hand bones in their feet. They've removed the metacarpal 1 and they've put it in the second phalange. The trapezium is distal surface. I mean, he just breaks these things down for 4 of the big mummies. He looked at 4 of them. And so a lot of people are trying to say,
how many are there total now?
Supposedly the Huaquero has like hundreds of different, at least pieces of different mummies. Okay. And every now and then we see some freakish little demon mummy come out. Some are small, some are big. And so as for the big ones, I think there's like 8. And right now they are in just total damage control mode, calling Dr. William Morrison a liar, calling me a grifter, calling Dr. Proctor a liar. But the good news is, for the truth, is this is blown past the Nazca Mummies safe space. Dr. Morrison in this video tells me that next year at their Society of Radiology conference, and then also another big conference, which brings in 60,000 radiologists to Chicago in person, that he's going to submit it for presentation. And when you submit something in presentation, it goes through a peer review process. And this is all blown past this little, expert's opinion of what these things are. It's about to be in front of a lot of radiologists that, quite frankly, laugh at. This is a joke to them.
That's what I'm saying, though. Unfortunately, there's going to be a subset of people, and it's not 10 people, who are full-blown, I want to believe, and even if shown the greatest evidence, will say it's not real, and they'll say it's academia, so of course they're going to debunk it, as other parts of academia have debunked things incorrectly in the past in other spaces. And that's the unfortunate part, because to me it's... And maybe that's just because I'm also a little biased from the beginning because I talked to Jaime. And it's just, I'm not a human lie detector, but I mean, if you had been on that fucking call.
Yeah, I interviewed him too. And Jaime, he's a charismatic, magnetic guy. I've heard he's a lot of fun to be around.
You interviewed him.
I did interview him. And I interviewed him twice, once in person, kind of off the cuff when the Nazca Mummies press conference got raided, and then also on Zoom for my original documentary. I liked him. I'm sure he's pissed at me right now, but hey, like, it is what it is. Like, this is wild. And I owed my audience like a formal opinion after 2 years on this. And yeah, it's people want to say, well, what if these were ancient artifacts? Maybe they did this in ancient times and it's not actually a hoax. First of all, even if that was true, this is still a hoax at this point. They've been pushing this so hard. Yeah. Second of all, there's reasons that that's not true, and it's in my video. But there's so many reasons we could talk. I'll name a couple of them. We got time. There have been cuts on the tendons and the fascia of these mummies, and those fascia and tendons, like if you were to tear your bicep, it would roll up into your arm. Correct. Right? These cuts do not have any retraction, which Dr. Morrison believes indicates that these cuts were made after mummification, after desiccation of this body. And there's a paleontologist named Dr. Julian Benoit that had the same analysis back in 2018 of some of these. And actually I have an image where you can see, it's the green image on the PDF of her like hand. If you go down, up a little bit, right there. So Maria has 5 extensor tendons and one of them's clearly cut at the thumb. And yeah, there's no retraction there, according to Dr.
What about
Morrison.
The pinky? Do we see a cut there?
Yeah. So Dr. Proctor, in some of his original work, talks about it's clearly there's distal surface where the pinky should be as well. The thumb's so much easier to identify, right? That for people that we really focused on that. But yeah, on all of these, the same thing happens over and over again.
And what was the element? I can't remember if we were on camera or off camera in between talking about this. So apologies if this was said on camera a little bit ago. But what was the element of organized crime as well with this that you uncovered?
Well, these mummies are selling on the black market, the black antiquities market. For Maria was listed for $1 million.
By who?
By the people that supposedly found these, or in my opinion, constructed. And some of the smaller ones are selling for they're listed for $20,000, $30,000.
And you think you have evidence that organized crime is handling that?
I mean, that is organized crime. But
yeah, but are these actual like mafia organizations in Peru?
I've been told that that's what's going on.
Who told you that?
There's people on there. There's a lot of stories about people that have went down trying to get to the bottom of some of this. And
not today, Chico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I can't tell you quite a few different people that have told me that. But it's a well-known thing. I think, not to speak for him, but, I'll say what I was going to say there. But these things, there's more to that with the modern day hoax. If you look at early pictures of Maria, in 2017, she has stroke marks on her face. Like paint, like somebody brush marks, I could say. It's not actual paint, but they were molding, and all that's gone. All of that is gone. And then what I think is some of the best evidence of this is there's actually been whistleblowers. Steve Mera is a guy that in September 2023 came out with a documentary saying that these were all a hoax, and he had been investigating them for 6 years, and he kind of got blown off by everybody. And in that documentary, he shows a Huaquero whistleblower saying, I'm the one that went and got them the fetus. I went and got them the body parts for all of these. I went and got their Frankenstein. He tells them how they did it, that they have this factory basically where these taxidermists are coming together and making these things.
Taxidermists.
According to Steve Mera, his people on the ground said 2 taxidermists were involved. And why I find that compelling is Steve Mera in September 2023 predicted, he said his Huaquero whistleblowers told him that a bigger mummy was being constructed. And at the time, the only big mummies we had seen was Maria. When I'm saying big mummies, I mean the humanoid ones, the human ones. Yeah. 5 months later, at that press conference that I went to, they announced Montserrat and all these other ones, and Steve Mera's prediction came true. And so there's so many things that show that this is a hoax, that like the people that need to explain on that are the ones that are saying it's not. It's time to like put up or shut up,
Yeah.
shit or get off the pot. Like, they can't peer review because there's no provenance. There's a chain of custody, no one knows about it, and they know that. And even if they could, they would. There are human hand bones in Paloma's feet. They know. I think some of these guys know this.
They have to. They're just like they're liars.
Yeah, and after the Roswell slides hoax in 2015, they doubled down. They doubled down and they said, nope, it's not a 2-year-old Native American child. That's wrong.
He changed the fucking diagram. He removed the thumb on the diagram.
Yep, exactly.
That's a lie.
Exactly. And they didn't ever, I mean, to this day, that biologist is still promoting it. So
that's fucking
in the end, will this make the Nazca mummies go away? Hopefully for like smart people that want to be grounded in reality and want the truth. Hopefully it's like we had congressmen that were about to go to Peru and take pictures with these things.
Jesus. Oh my God.
It was starting to become a big deal.
At least they pulled out.
Well, I don't know yet.
They might still be going.
I don't know.
Are you talking about like Burchett?
Not Burchett. What's the other guy's name from Missouri? I had heard that there was plans from a couple of them to go check these things out down in Peru. And I hope that they've seen the message because these are complete bullshit.
It's not.
There's nothing wrong with being an open-minded congressman. These mummies are not it.
Where's the Peruvian government today in 2026 as it relates to this?
The Ministry of Culture just released some paperwork that basically make Maria and then a little baby mummy called Wawita, which even the proponents admit is butchered. They just released documentation that makes them cultural artifacts. And so the mummy people took that as a win because like this shows that Maria is authentic, not manipulated. If you read the fine text, they say she's a human being, Homo sapien. And so
taxidermy.
Yeah. Well, and they don't really, it's kind of vague, but at the end of the day, the problems of the anatomy are always going to be there. They're bringing out DNA specialists now to try to figure out what's going on. Yeah. They're going to have to, I hope they do that. And I hope it gets peer reviewed. I hope you can do it in a way that gets peer reviewed.
Guys, at the end of the day, don't let that happen.
At the end of the day, Paloma has hand bones in her feet. Montserrat has 3 phalanges while Maria has 4. Maria has her articular surface of where her thumb should be clearly there. There's clearly amputations at the feet. And those are the questions that all these well-meaning investigators that are going down there need to now make sure they're telling their audience. Make sure you're telling your audience about the Roswell slides hoax and who was involved with that. Because I keep seeing Zalce Benitez and all of his credentials. He worked for the Mexican Navy being rolled out. Well, let's also talk about the Roswell slides hoax just to make sure everyone has the information out there on the past judgment of some of these experts.
That's what these guys do, though. They double down even when presented with the truth and then change the narrative. They change the subject. Oh, we were talking don't worry about that anymore. By the way, it was true. Now we're on to this.
Constantly.
And you see this again and again, and it creates a lot of cynics in the space, and I hate to see that. But, it's important that, where there's a case to be made and someone with a balanced head like you, who's gone to these fucking press conferences, by the way, talk to all the people involved, talk to other experts who can review this from a scientific medical perspective, is willing to come out and tell that story and report it as it is. And like you said, like if you end up being wrong about something, you're someone that will say you're wrong.
Totally.
But I think in a situation like this, you're dealing with people on the other side that you can't say the same about.
No, absolutely not. This whole thing is like the people that are still hanging on to this are just, I really think that there's been psychological damage done to a lot of these people. They've made it their identity.
Yes.
This has became a cult.
Yes.
And as a result, they'll never admit it. There's a lot of double standards. People are saying, well, how could you say that these are a hoax? You haven't even had peer review yet. And it's like, you guys have been saying that these are alien mummies for the last 9 years. There hasn't been one peer review, none. And that's because they can't. They know they can't. it would get cooked day one. They're clearly fake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like, if there's something behind it. Like, I was thinking about some of the guys that pushed Jason Sands on James Fox. And I know, let's just say they're coming from the government. It's like, what's the motive here? Is it to deflect from an actual truth? Is that actual truth something that is alien or not of this world? Or is it something else that's human that they don't want people to know about? Or is it both?
You know, thinking about that was probably the most spooky part of deciding to go ahead and do this.
Right.
I do want to just say, I think this is a localized hoax.
This one.
Yes.
Okay.
However, that doesn't mean it wasn't good enough that somebody with some poll goes, that might be a cool thing to muddy the waters with for whatever political reason, you know? And so all of a sudden we have several congressmen that are interested in this, you know, people are becoming more open-minded about it. And in my opinion, it's reached its peak. Like, there's a lot of bag holders now, so to say, with these mummies, because the peak, in my opinion, was probably a couple months ago. I don't think it's ever going to get back to there. I think people are starting to wake up to it. But as to what you said, I don't know. But yeah, like, I hope there's not some intelligence agency or something like that messing around with this, because, you know, if that's the case, you know, I'm sure they're not very happy with me right now.
Well, it's or maybe that's part of the plan, by the way. You know, maybe it's a big thing to blow it up so that people you flood the zone
bullshit
with noise, and then people are like, you know what, it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
That could totally be, because that was my thought with the Jason Sands thing, because the claims were so fucking insane.
Yeah.
That it's like, and then Darcy Weir had it perfectly charted back to the Gaia depositions, like word for word, bar for bar.
Yeah.
It was like the Soldier Boy, he stole my flow, word for word, bar for bar.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is indisputable.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, why are objectively smart people pushing this, knowing his medical record, by the way? They knew his medical record of some of the stuff that he was, because I do not want to demonize Jason. I want to be clear about that.
Yeah.
Jason, as a human being, I got along with, and I understood. And we, you know, I really understood, like, he admitted to having PTSD on his record and some of these other things and some of the therapies that he was put through for that. But also, when you go through, it wasn't just military. When you go through his whole life, he had a very traumatic childhood. The first 32 minutes of episode 267 are very telling.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about that. We came in here, I did basically like an hour and a half podcast with James Fox and him, where we were talking about James's new documentary at the time. And then we went and took a break. I said, all right, podcast 2, I was like, Jason, let's just get down to it. I said, where are you from? Or something like that. Where were you born? And he tells his whole childhood story, which, you know, it had us in like borderline tears.
Yeah.
Hearing it. And so as a human being, like, I told him to his face afterwards, I said, Jason, I don't think these things happened. But I know you were in the military. I know you served out there on Nellis. I saw the paperwork for that. Thank you for doing that. And I really appreciate you being so open about stuff, because it's very clear to me that I don't think you're lying. I think you really believe the things you're saying,
right,
because of some of the things that have happened to you, and, you know, take that for what it's worth. But that does not change the fact that there are people who knew he had these issues, who decided to still push him. I mean, they were aggressive telling James to put him in that documentary. Yeah. James was really like, I don't know, but then he trusted those guys, and it bit him in the ass.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, to be fair, I guess 2015 has been a long time ago, but it's not that long. And you can go look up any of this stuff.
That's right.
And the story needs to be told in full now. This playbook that we've seen with the Nazca mummies, the press conferences, the experts, the DNA, all the bullshit, it's happened over and over again for a long time. And it's media, it's storytelling, it's selling subscriptions for adult bedtime stories. Yeah. And it got out of control because this one deals with actual human beings that have been desecrated.
Right. And that's really dark.
Yeah, it's fucked up. And it's what George Knapp said on his, I was on the George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell podcast, and he said ghoulish. That's probably the best word for it. It's like ghoulish. It's weird. It's like,
so I haven't seen their takes on
Yes.
this. They think this is all bullshit.
well, they just gave us a platform, and like good journalists, they let us tell our story.
Great.
And so I don't want to speak for them, but they were very they saw what we talked about.
Message
So,
received.
yeah, message
basically.
received. Yeah.
That's great.
And they've been skeptics from the beginning on this. So yeah, I don't think it's unfair to say that we convinced them for sure.
Yeah.
That,
And listen, there's other stories you hear that it's like, that is some, when it gets to like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, it starts to get like, all right, what? But, you know, when you go through the history of just even take like right after World War II up through, 2000,
yep.
and sightings around the world, much of which occurred before 1990, before there's internet, before people had mass communication with each other. And you see that these 18-year-olds in Australia describe the same things that these 7-year-olds in Africa describe. And then, from this decade and then that decade,
Yeah.
and then this is described here. It's like, again, I don't know if it's aliens. It could be fucking DARPA.
Yeah.
But something's up. And then, yes, there are, like, the 94 Zimbabwe one is one that really sticks with me.
That
And
one's
that could
wild.
be some, back misremembering therapy, but they did an amazing job with that.
Yeah.
If that's the case, because those children all tell such consistent stories. And,
Yeah.
I'm open to that stuff. I really am. But to your point, when you run into one that is just categorically bullshit, and it's provably categorically bullshit with evidence and science and all that, you have to call it out.
Yep. Balls and strikes. I am totally on board with, like, I have one of my videos that is one of my most watched videos of all time is I interviewed Ronnie Johnson from Delphus, Kansas, who at the time in 1971 had one of the most intriguing UFO stories of all time.
What was that story?
So first of all, just to preface this, I went and cold knocked on his door. He didn't know who I was. I just showed up to Delphus and was like, Ronnie, can I talk to you? Because he doesn't really do interviews. I think he did one thing with the Discovery Channel like a couple decades back. But here's the story. Ronnie Johnson was 15 years old, living out on his farm in Delphus, which is north of Salina, Kansas, not too far from Topeka, the capital. Little small cow town, wheat town, corn town. And he, at the time, he was feeding his sheep and his pigs. He was doing chores, and he heard this rumbling. And he goes outside, and all of a sudden he finds himself like temporarily paralyzed. And he's looking at what he described as like a light that was so light, it was like you were getting welder burns from this mushroom-shaped object. And this is Ronnie Johnson, Delphus, Kansas, if you ever want to look this up. And after a period of time when both him and his dog and his sheep are all temporarily paralyzed, he says, it goes away. He doesn't know how much time passed, but all of a sudden he can move again. And the sheep jump the fence, the dog's going crazy, the pigs like go wild through the fence. He goes inside and tells his parents, and they don't believe him, but they come outside and there is a circle.
Like a crop circle?
There's a circle in the dirt and it's glowing. And there's pictures of this. It's glowing, and his mother touches it on her hands and her thigh because she rubbed it on her thigh, and she lost feeling in her hands for the rest of or that part of her hand for the rest of her life, including she got paralysis in her thigh for the rest of her life. They took a Geiger counter to this thing, and it was as far to the level of radioactive that you could see. This circle existed for decades on their farm. They put a little fence around it. There were burn marks on the tree. One of the the science teacher who I met, really nice guy, took a sample of this dirt and kept it in the museum there. He actually let me take some of that dirt, and I sprinkled some water on it because this dirt, the pH is maxed out. It's as full pH, like the high pH as you can get, and it repels water. It doesn't mix in with dirt, and I confirmed that. And this circle was there for a long time. It turned into this white powder. It started growing these mushrooms, which were also, according to Ronnie, radioactive and would make your hands turn numb if you touched them. And he showed me pictures of all that. It's in my documentary. I called it the greatest UFO testimony of all time because Ronnie is salt of earth. Like, there's a type of person from like a place like Kansas that's incapable of lying, in my humble opinion. And Ronnie feels like that guy, where you're just like, he just orating a memory as it's coming in his head.
He's seeing something, regardless. He's seeing something that happened.
Yeah, and he doesn't like talking about it. And he says it ruined his life. I believe he was injured by this thing. And, you know, he said he was plagued with nightmares. He claims that it would come back and that he would have premonitions and like almost predict when it would come back. And so the other thing is, he wasn't the only one that saw it. A deputy from, I believe, Minneapolis, Kansas, nearby town, corroborated that he saw the UFO flying around. This is also an area of the country that is full of those nuclear missile silos at the time. Kansas, north central Kansas, and Nebraska, all throughout. You can go buy for $600,000. You can go buy an abandoned missile silo out there and turn it into your little Armageddon playground, because they're everywhere. They're everywhere, including that area.
Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.